I think each week you need to show up with a thicker gold chain just on top of the previous weeks.
See, this is what we're talking about. That's brilliant. I like that idea a lot.
So you need to let people know, hey man, got a small dick.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I am Johnny Christ. This is Drinks with Johnny. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. We got a bunch of shit coming for you guys. Thanks for checking out this channel. Thanks for checking out this episode. And, of course, if you got shit to do, you got to commute, you're working out, you're walking, you just clean up around the house, go over and find Drinks with Johnny anywhere you listen to your podcast. Super easy, and you can continue to go about your day. Really excited for this episode, guys. This is a historical episode for many reasons. We got Tommy End, formerly known as Aleister Black from WWE. We're going to bring him on in just a few minutes. But right now, I'm going to just tell you guys why I'm so excited. I have my first ever co-host. The first time we're ever going to have a co-host right here on Drinks with Johnny. We brought him in. You guys probably know him as our director, graphic designer, and our resident professional wrestling expert, as well as the proud owner of a semi-new Honda Pilot. Brandon Lombardo, how the hell are you doing today, man?
Wow, man. Out of all those titles, I've got to say, resident professional wrestling expert is the one that's definitely going to get me laid.
So, yeah, let's talk about why we brought you on here. We got Tommy, and you hooked up this guest this week for everybody, and I'm really excited. Obviously, this is coming right off the heels of his release from the WWE. We're going to get into all that with Tommy. I thought I knew a lot about wrestling. I thought I was kind of a geek, and then I met you, and you completely schooled me on everything. I think there was one or two things that I had to correct you on, and you were very, very shocked and upset about it.
Probably, yeah. I just, there's a lot of useless knowledge up here. There's a lot of good stuff, but man, there's a lot of space for useless knowledge.
Well, I'd say there's
wrestling stuff.
There's at least a few of those. So looks like Tommy just texted me right now. He's ready to come into the chat. So let's bring him on here, Brandon. Tommy End, how the hell are you, man?
Hello, gentlemen. I'm here. What's up? How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Doing great, man.
Yeah. So, it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Florida for you right now?
Yeah. It's 4 o'clock. It's humid as hell. A lot of sunshine. I'm sitting in the AC like most days. It's hot. Really, really hot. No, it's good, man. I'm having a really good day. I'm having a bunch of really, really good days. Obviously, my life changed 3 weeks ago. So I've been working like crazy, and I like being busy. So this is like the perfect balance of everything that I want to do right now. I'm having a blast. So, I can't wait for all of this stuff that I'm currently planning to kind of come into fruition. And today was another one of those days. And then on top of this, talking to you guys, it's been a really, really, really great day. I can't recall a time in my life where I kind of woke up every morning and I really got excited for the day, and I think that with what happened 3 weeks ago, as weird as that sounds, I feel very positive, like very, very, very positive.
Well, that's great. Yeah, no, we're going to get into all that, of course. I mean, I know you've been doing a lot of, I'm sure you've been doing a lot of interviews and talking to people like me over the last 3 weeks, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
I've not been talking to people like you. There's no one like you, John.
Well, that's true, but probably not for good reasons. But yeah, man, I'm glad you mentioned some of the stuff, like you staying busy, you're happy, you're working. Can you tell me what you've been working on a little bit? Because, I mean, a lot of times I would think in your position 3 weeks ago, you might take some time to reflect, just sit back, and it sounds like you just went right back at it. No vacation time for you? You didn't go off and just sit back and do something? You went right into it, man.
So I sat home for 7 months prior to being released. I came back for 6 weeks, if that. And they released me on the moment where, I was supposed to get my promised push. So I had vacation time enough. Oh, you're drinking the kombucha too? There we go.
I am. Which one do you got?
I got the golden pineapple.
I've got a trilogy.
Bonded for life over mushrooms that are fermented into this live enzyme concoction that helps our gut. Kombucha with Johnny and Tommy today, then. So, and I spoke about this like with a few other people that like in terms of like interviews that were definitely a little bit more like wrestling orientated, but it was a shock. Of course it was a shock. Of course it sucked. Of course there were like things that I didn't like and things that I'm really, really mad about, but I chose not to dive onto that. So the thing is, like, I felt very relieved because I felt like a lot of pressure was off of me. Because, if you sit home for 7 months and you're someone like me who constantly wants to work and like, I basically felt that I was in the starting blocks for 7 months, basically waiting for that gun to pop off for me to take off. You know what I mean? So, you accumulate a lot of like stress, you accumulate a lot of pressure, and, you just want to move forward. And like, you're crazy texting, calling, emailing every single day to see, hey guys, what are we doing? And, it was a good feeling once we finally got started, but then obviously it got cut short. And I just went like, right, okay, I can do two things right now. I can completely crush myself and go, oh my God, but I've been sitting home for 7 months. I already knew what it was to not be involved with the company pretty anymore because I didn't feel like I was part of the company anymore. And prior to my release, I actually had a bunch of really long conversations with the headquarters where I was trying to get myself more involved with the company because I wanted to learn about the company. But, that's about as much other than like building and working on this new character that I really did in terms of like working. I get thrown a lot of like endorsement stuff, but I have to turn that down because WB has a third policy, a no on third policy for whatever bizarre reason. So I was now able to talk to all these people that have been wanting to work with me for like so long and have like cool conversations and get like these endorsement deals that I've been wanting for like the longest time. And like, as of today, as of yesterday, I'm officially endorsed by Hayabusa Fight Gear, which I think is like one of the coolest things because I love Hayabusa. I've been a fan of their products for like the longest time because besides, professional wrestling, I have a pretty extensive background in martial arts and more specifically like more towards like kickboxing and Muay Thai. So I've been wearing gloves for like the longest time, and my gloves of choice have always been like, for the most part, have been Hayabusa. So for them to kind of like approach me and say, "Hey Tom, we've been wanting to work with you," and this and that is like one of the coolest things. And there's been a lot of these like things that I can't really talk about too much that have come my way that are like mind blowing. That like these people want to work with me, but it gives me this feeling of, it's not the end of the world that, you got cut from WWE. And it's just every day has been super positive. I feel really healthy. It's kind of weird to describe for a guy like me who's been on edge for the past 4 or 5 years because I always put so much pressure on myself to perform and to be like the best version of my character, of my persona, of me as a human being that I can be, to now kind of go and say, now I get to pick and choose. Now I get to control this part of my life. Now I get to control this narrative that I want and do it my way. And, with other opportunities within the wrestling world that have come towards me, it's been one of these, it's going to be okay feelings, you know what I mean? And that is undoubtedly worth its weight in gold because you can't put a price on creativity, you can't put a price on mental health, and it's just been super positive, and I'm just really content, and I'm sure there's going to be moments where I'm not, because that's life, right? You can't always be riding high and never be bothered by stuff. But I think in due time, there's going to be absolutely moments where, I'll reflect, and I'll try to put that in context for myself. But ever since, 3 weeks ago, I got released, I'm just a ball of positivity, and I just feel accomplished. I think maybe that's the right word. I feel accomplished, very accomplished.
Accomplished and ready for what's coming, right? I mean, there's you touched upon a lot right there that I wanted to get into. It's fantastic. I mean, right off the get-go, you brought up your background in kickboxing and Muay Thai and MMA. I saw you working with some bags on your Instagram. Everyone could go find you at Tommy End if you didn't already know for whatever reason. It's at Tommy End, all social media, all of it. But I saw you were posting there. You were working the bags. You were actually holding the bags for your trainer there. And I guess the question for me was, and then I saw you, I saw your wrestling as well. You kind of brought a lot of that into your in-ring work. I noticed a lot of kicks, a lot of MMA style. Even your stance when you go, isn't the traditional wrestling that I grew up with, where you lock shoulders and stuff like that. It's a lot of MMA looks to it. I guess that begs the question, now that you're out of the WWE and you got, the world is your oyster. I mean, it's kind of known around the world that wherever you go, you're going to be doing well, and everyone's excited to see what that step's going to be. But one that I don't know how many people may have asked you about, but I'm going to ask it here. Is there ever a chance we'll see you in an octagon? I mean, you've done some MMA stuff in the past, and you said how it's inspired you throughout. I mean, is that right now you have endless opportunities to do whatever you want? Is that something you're thinking about in the back of your mind or anything like that?
So and I have to put this perspective into how I view things. I'm not against like anyone who tried MMA or kickboxing as a competitive sport after their career.
Yeah.
But for me, at age 36, I would not want to compete on a high level. Injuries, not having enough knowledge. I feel that if I would do that, it wouldn't be respectful to the sport. If I were to ever do that, I would do that in a closed circuit on a very regional level. So I would do, I've pondered on doing a couple of Muay Thai fights. I've spoken a little bit with my trainer, but I have to map out the future of my career currently within the realm of professional wrestling, plus all the other stuff that is currently coming my way. I have to map that out first, and then see how much time versus what I need to do I really have. And right now, I don't feel that I am ready to say, hey, you know what, let's do a Muay Thai fight. I want to, I really do. But I want to feel like, for instance, when Punk did it, he trained for a whole year because he wanted to be, I think when it comes to that, him and me are similar, that we want to bite down into it and really feel that at least whatever we do, whether we succeed or fail, we have tried everything that we could to at least prepare ourselves in the right way. So I would have to see how I could clear my schedule and really dive into it and really take the step of training 5-6 times a week, just specifically Muay Thai, on top of all the strength and conditioning that I do, and really make that headway, make that happen. But I wouldn't say that I'm against it, because like I just said, I spoke to my trainer about it a little bit. And he, he said we can do senior fight, something, because at age 36, I am considered to be a senior within the realm of kickboxing and stuff.
That's fucked up. I'm 36 as well, and I'm showing it a lot more than you are. But damn, man, that's fucking harsh.
I feel that. I wouldn't be able to do the sport justice right now. But again, it's something that I've considered. And hey, man, who knows, within the next year, 2 years, whilst my career has taken a turn for being stable again, and I can kind of map it out a little bit, and then I can kind of create a schedule wherein I can train X amount of times where I feel prepared enough to enter the ring. But in terms of MMA, no, I do not have enough skill in MMA. I've always been more into stand-up stuff. I did Kyokushinkai, karate, a little bit of judo, a little bit of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but for the most part, I did kickboxing and Muay Thai, and even did Penchak Silat for a while. But I don't have enough qualifications on the ground to be an MMA guy. So whoever would face me would literally just be able to get at me in literally more than 3 seconds, and demolish me. And the ground stuff has never really specifically been my thing. The funny thing is in professional wrestling, I like hold stuff a lot because it plays into, the style of the character. But as me as Tom, I've never been good at it, and it's never intrigued me enough for me to say I'm going to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know what I mean? I would do it because I would want to have a better understanding of what I do in the ring, and I sometimes do, but not on a competitive level at all.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm glad. Cleared that up a little bit. I know that I heard you talking a little bit about some of your kickboxing influences just yesterday. It was released, a podcasting network, fellow network guy, Finn McKenty on the Punk Rock NBA, is also on this network. And listen to you on there talk about growing up in Denmark and in Amsterdam and having all the
You mean the Netherlands?
Netherlands, sorry. Oh, God. I know. I always fuck that up too. It's like, okay, you name it like 5 different things.
A lot of people do, and I wonder why. Like, because it's a completely different country.
I know, right? And I always do that. It's the Netherlands, Amsterdam, Netherlands, Holland. Okay, yeah. I was just corrected on that. Let's fucking just edit that later. Anyways, so you were talking about growing up in the Netherlands. How was your upbringing? I mean, you're in Amsterdam, you're in the Netherlands, as we found out it was not Denmark.
There's 2 sides to my childhood. A very happy, full of life experiences, very thought-provoking childhood of mine. But then there is a very suicidal, dark things that I haven't processed, don't want to talk about, stuff that happened in my childhood that kind of intertwined with that. I think for the most part, I think with a lot of like people that grew up in alternatives in the alternative scenes, in terms of like whether you were a musician or like you're into tattooing or like art or whatever the quote unquote non-conventionalism is, I think there's a reason why we do that. There's a reason why there's so much creativity, and there's a reason why we have such a desire to not do things the standard 9 to 5, the standard 9 to 5 way, and why we aesthetically look the way we do. I think there's a lot of reason behind this like extreme feeling of like wanting to express yourself, right? And I think that for me, with how my childhood went and stuff that I went through as a kid, that definitely plays a part of it. I think there's parts of my life that I can honestly say that the only reason I'm still alive is because of professional wrestling, because I had this one red thread in my life that kept me from falling off. But it was almost like a road between two mountains that I'm kind of like walking and balancing, because there's been many, many times in life where I almost fell off, but it always came back to no, keep focusing on this, because this is the one thing that gives you life. And even then, because if you start out, you know how it is, like even if you start in music, you have nothing, you have you have nothing, you know what I mean? And like there is no guarantee, there is no promise. There is you're one step away from forever ruining your career, and like for me as well, there's one step away from me falling out the ring and breaking my ankle, you know what I mean? And it's done. And all you have is the road, your friends, the people that you meet in wrestling, the traveling that you do, and the money that you invest, and the money that you actually don't have to invest, but everything goes into it. So like I said, there was a very like 50-50 childhood experience with me that goes hand in hand with incredible experiences, but also with like really, really dark, bleak parts of my life being lived in an abyss. Absolutely. And
well, how do you mean just being like, can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Like, what do you mean as far as like what were some of the things, if you don't mind, maybe going into a little bit more that were plaguing you or putting you in that spot? I mean, was there anything specific, or was it just growing up? Or
there's plenty of things specific, but it's like I always kind of watch with what I tell them, because the people in the people in these stories are still very much there.
Mm-hmm.
and some of them have, completely turned their lives around and are living a good life now. So I don't want to put them in a position where, they no longer are. I think the reason for everyone's madness, I'm not saying that everything is always justifiable and everything is always forgivable, but I do believe that with time, you can create understanding for the situations that people don't understand why they did the things they did. Doesn't necessarily make it okay, but for yourself, you can get an understanding so you can somehow make peace with it. And I spoke about this with Finn, like very briefly. I remember when we're like 13, 14, 15-year-old, I was really heavily into skateboarding and like alternative music. And I used to hang out with and like almost like every day be with my group of friends who were all squatters, and it would squat buildings and stuff. But that culture back then, there was a lot of drugs involved. There's a lot of people very like addicted and very unhealthy mental place. And I remember one specific point, I was 15 years old, and I think I glanced on this story with him as well. I remember waking up in that place after yet another night of way too much alcohol for a 15-year-old. Yeah. And I look around and I'm groggy as shit, and there's a dude literally fucking, injecting himself, and I just go, whoa. And it's like one of those things where I don't think a 15-year-old needs to be in this surrounding. And losing friends to drugs, losing friends to suicide, and my mom used to tell me, Tom, whenever I think back of your childhood, I always wonder where you were. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you were never home. I'm like, yeah, because I didn't want to be home. And my mom knows why I didn't want to be home. And it's just one of those things where I tried to get away from my house, from my parents all the time. I didn't want to be around them. I didn't want to be, because I felt misunderstood. Home was not for me a comfortable place. Home became a comfortable place when I no longer lived home. When I was 18, 19, I moved out of my parents' house. I got an opportunity to move out, and I jumped on it. I could barely afford rent. The rent took all my money for the most part, but I had to get out. I had to escape. And it's funny, actually, when I created that gap, the relationship between that actually became better. It kind of healed itself. And, it's strange to see it now that when I look back at that time, I can think of it more fondly than I could 10, 15 years ago. Right. When I finally moved out, I went through a 4 or 5 year phase where I was just like mentally annihilated, because my body for 19 years, my mind never had a chance to process things, and like things from my childhood and things that I've seen and things that family that I lost, friends that I lost, people that, like killed themselves, people that OD'd and all that stuff. And I couldn't process it. So in that period of time from 19 to like 24, 25, I was able to finally process a lot, but then there's also stuff that happened in in between those times that eventually I remember being completely derailed and just thinking to myself, having the mindset of like, well, if I die when I'm 30 years old, I'm fucking okay with that, because at least I've done all these cool things and it doesn't matter anymore, because like happiness is not for me. So let me just live this like incredibly fast, destructive lifestyle. And I'm sure that's, none of this sounds unfamiliar to a lot of people. I obviously I don't know the backstory, but I'm sure that you understand the thought. Maybe you understand it better than I'm actually, understanding. And I think all that creativity, all that anger, all that frustration, all the sadness, all the hurt, it can create such creative passion. It literally is like almost sometimes, and it's sad to say, almost it's like sometimes the best fuel to create some of your best work. I've had the best matches when I was mentally at my lowest point. And, even when I was 28 and I got diagnosed with depression, and now having to learn how to deal with it, getting in therapy and stuff like that, and like making sure that I understand the process of my brain, and all the stuff that I was doing that I didn't even know I was doing, all this like really unhealthy behavior that I was displaying, not just myself but people around me.
Sure.
I felt evil for a very, very long time. I felt like a really evil person. And there was a time in my life where I thought that I was going to lose my wrestling career because I thought if I wasn't sad or if I wasn't depressed, I wouldn't have any fuel to create. I wouldn't have any fuel to make anything of myself, and I would lose all the stuff that I've worked for. So all this like pain and anguish,
Wow.
and I hate using those words. It sounds so edgy, but it's not fun. I mean, like it's not fun to have this really unhealthy mindset where you're convinced yourself that you can only be good if you're absolutely fucking horrible and and you destroy shit, and like you deliberately get involved with people are not good for you.
Yeah.
You get involved with people that but will never understand you, are not on the same wavelength as you, and are going to be bad for you. So you deliberately stay in these situations, and then halfway through you get this like weird, like, what the fuck am I doing? This strange guilt trip, and then you're trying to yank yourself out of it, and that turns into shit. It's just like whatever way you were trying to like spin the ball, it all ended in the same manner. So you literally just like created this maze for yourself mentally that you can't escape. You feel awful all the time. You feel negative all the time, but you don't want to, because now you've reached a point in your life where you're over it.
Yeah.
And once I finally get out there, because I remember one of my friends once told me, the definition of hate is to be obsessed with something till the day you die. And I was like, I don't fucking want that. I don't want to carry all that. I don't want to carry that with me. And a big part of my rehabilitation, let's call it that, is my wife. She was one of the people that for the first time in my life, when I met her, and I just met someone who was in such a different wave of energy than I've ever been used to. There was no pressure. There was no awkwardness. There was no you have to or you should be, or like, hey, you need to do this. There was no subconscious trying to change me, trying to make me something I wasn't. And that was a big shocker for me, because now I'm like, okay, I'm happy. This can't be good. I'm sure she'll fuck me over.
Yeah,
at some point,
yeah, the inevitability of, yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad you're talking about that for several reasons. You were talking there, you were saying, maybe I know a little bit more about that than and I think that's the commonality. You speaking about it, and even you're saying like, oh, I don't want to use words like that because it sounds this or that. No, it's good for you to talk about someone in your position who can really spell it out for everyone. And you're right, it's not that uncommon. A lot of people feel the same way that you did. I'm one of them. I'm one of those self-sabotagers in a lot of respects, learning to deal with it. But yeah, like if things are going too good, it's always in the back of my mind something bad's about to happen. Like everything's right. Too good right now. Yeah, Brandon, do you have some of that too? Like, you want to chime in on this?
Oh, dude, absolutely. I feel like at some of my worst times, I created some of my best artwork, and it's like, it happens like that. And I don't know why. It's so weird, and you think that's your fuel, and yeah, it is a paradox. But I'm happy to hear that you call it your rehabilitation, because after being released and being as happy as you are and not letting that affect you, I think that's so rad, man. Because you could just see it. You're glowing right now. I mean, you've learned to conquer it.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm sure there's going to be times where it's going to be tough again. But I feel like right now I have equipped the tools that I need to either fight it, to deal with it, or to move forward from it. And like a lot of people, I think, still think, from my past, that like I'm still this like, negative, abusive, like towards myself kind of person. Which makes it hard, because people have this like level of expectation of you, and then you're like, like that's just no longer who you are, and that's no longer who you can be, because you've grown away from that. You're no longer involved with that, and it's at that moment where you really see who will truly support you, and who is like, wow, I don't like this new guy. And then.
Well, for me, it's actually that transition that's even harder. Once you're on the other side of, this is the new me, and all my friends and family have to accept it, that's a little bit easier. For me, it's that journey that's in between the old you and the new you of like, that's the that's the gutter that you're running through right there, is trying to figure out and seeing like who's coming with me, who's leaving it. Like, for me, I have the stigma of, at least amongst my friends and probably amongst more people now that I'm doing this show, of being a bit of a drunk, and I'm not saying that I'm not, but I'm getting older and more mature, and it's not quite what it was when I was in my 20s. Let's face it, you start to grow up and shit just changes. But it's still it's awesome to hear you talk about that too, about how that's where you find who's still going to stick it with you and actually knows you for who you are and not your. I mean, I know actions speak louder than words, but sometimes the way that you act isn't the end game, like you're always constantly working on yourself, right?
Yeah. Like it's a never ending process. And I think that's also why this process of like me being released has been so good, because it allows me to like reflect on myself a lot better than having the pressure of, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to like, always put the company ahead of everything. I don't have to do that right now.
Yeah, you don't need to do shit. You don't need to do shit. You're fucking Tommy End, and everybody wants a piece of you right now. So you don't need to do shit. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Let's put that out there right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like, that's why I feel so good. And it was funny, I was talking to my agent the other day, and he's like, man, you sound so much different than like when I met you like a year and a half ago. I even said like, man, like I feel different. You know what I mean? I feel, and it's been a transition. I'm 36. It's been a transition of like 3 years, and every once in a while you'll have those flare-ups of like, the old you, but like, how to like, in your head, like, oh no, that's the old you. Come on, stop. That's not how you should respond. And then, you get over it. But even that in the beginning, like, that was not easy, because if you only have one point of reference continuously for 33 years, you'll lash out from that persona, you'll lash out from that part. And then like, the change is violent, unpleasant, awkward, and nothing about it, even when I say that, sounds appealing. But you want to change so bad, because you know that the ways that you've been living are only going to get you so far in life, and all you're doing is reversing all your actions continuously. So you're going to have to like bite the bullet on it and go like, no, in order for me to, be truly happy, just like, you got to see past, you got to see past that hill and realize what's behind the hill. And that's where you just got to keep in your mind. And again, everything that I'm saying, I feel like I'm talking in cliches, but I guess like cliches have to be true, because obviously.
Yeah. Cliches are cliches for a reason, right? They've been said enough times. They make enough sense. That's the reason why they're out there. Man, I'm so glad we got into that. That was, it's really great for people like yourself and everyone on this chat right now to talk a little bit about that. I think it's very important that in this day and age, more than ever, I think in a lot of ways with social media. I know I called you the social media king earlier as a kind of a joke, because I was listening to you, how you don't even like to look at your comments anymore because of how toxic some of them can be. Some of them are great, some of them are, and it doesn't matter. You could take it or leave it at this point, right?
No. None of them are going to pay your bills. None of them are going to help you in your career. None of them are going to do anything. And
I don't know, dude. The comments, man, they're just like assholes, man. Everyone has an opinion, and none of them matter.
That's true.
No, because again, people.
Oh wait, real quick. If you're watching this right now, make sure to comment below.
Yeah, definitely comment. We read all of them.
Comments. But it's I try to sympathize even with the bad ones. I spoke to Finn about this for a little bit too. Like, I don't know at what state of mind you have to be to get to the point where you want to go through all the trouble of making an account that has no recollection of any traces of you as a human being, of who you really are, and to go on a page and go, you fucking suck. And I'm like, is internet really that important to you? Well,
you feel bad for those people. Well, here's the thing. I heard you talking about that with Finn, and I wanted to bring that up because there's two ways to look at that, right? you feel bad for the person, right? Of course. And you guys touched upon that because obviously there's a lot of hate in their heart, whatever's going through their lives. It's not a good one if that, like to your point, if that's what they spend their time doing. But there's also the bots, right? So you don't know which one of these are actually a real person in the way you described him just now, or if they're literally, there's bots that are made out there, and that's why they don't have a life or anything on their profiles. It's literally an AI that's been created by someone to literally troll. So it's like, so some of those are not even people. Yeah.
No, interesting. Well, that's also a good reason then why I don't look at comments. But I think everybody always comments from their own point of reference. That's why it's always such a thing where I'm like, you can put up A, people want B. You put up B, people want A. You put up C, people want A and B. Yeah, it's everybody just comments from their own point of reference. And I think we live in an age where people are continuously so concerned with how they are perceived because we have put so much equity into the internet that, we're so concerned with even people that we'll never meet, never see, never will have a real connection with in real life, perceive us as being intelligent. And I don't know why that is. I'm guessing that's some sort of like insecurity that lies within a lot of people. And it's not a crazy insecurity to have because I understand that intelligence is an important deal, but at the same time, is it important enough to really ruin your day over it? My thing is at the end of everything, right? Let's say from 20 years from now, I don't want to wake up one day and go, man, I could have done all this with my life, but instead I focused on internet literally 24/7 and be on forums and Twitter,
right.
Engaging in conversations and discussions and arguments. And I think that's a big thing too. I think that people think that arguing is a sign of intelligence, and it is not. Contradicting someone's point for the sake of contradicting someone's point makes you a dumbass. That doesn't make you smart. That makes you that means that you're unopen to learn. You do not have the ability, you do not possess the ability to go and look at this stuff from a neutral point of view and understanding this comment first and understand what it is that brought this person to this conclusion. And there was instant reaction on everything. There was no, as much as people like to use the words "do your own research" nowadays, there's no research on anything. There is just well, I disagree with it. And
no, Tommy, they're doing plenty of research on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Someone posted it, they read it, it's on the internet. It's true, and they're going to let you know all about it.
Yeah. No. It's we live in a very strange time, but at the same time, look, the internet can be a shit ton of fun. I mean, what we're doing is made possible by the internet.
No, but that's everything. That's that's when you go back to fucking the times of TV, times of radio. Before that, there was always, you got it. It's like what was it Socrates that said back in the day? Everything in moderation, man. If you could use the tool in the correct way, then it's a good thing for society, right?
It all comes down to the user, too. I think if that user who is on the internet, who's posting those comments, if they have that hate in their heart and they're using that as their outlet, I just feel like they haven't done enough introspection to find what it is that they're truly seeking to make them happy. What is that creative outlet for them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also everything around us is now built as a distraction. I see a lot of people, and obviously politics being the biggest one, people being lashing out from whatever side. And I feel I feel that the whole us versus them rhetoric is, it's to me, it's why are you allowing to be this distracted with stuff that is not going to matter? It's not going to change. Not going to change a damn thing, whether you worry about it or not. I think being aware of things is good.
To be educated and be aware is very true. Yeah. Education and awareness are very important.
I think the one thing people lack to be aware of is that we're all just one human species, right? We're all the same human beings, and people look past that because they get distracted.
Yeah.
And it makes sometimes it's difficult because sometimes you just want to shake people and just go dude, go live your life. Don't worry about this stuff. It's such, I feel like if you engage in it so much, then they got you. You fell for it, hell for it. And you shouldn't, because even the ones that truly have so much negativity and hatred in their hearts, at the end of the day, I want everybody to just like not regret the time that they've spent here, because it's honestly, it's so quick. Like sometimes I think to myself, I'm 36. Jesus, I was like 16 like 2 years ago. You know what I mean? And it's
mentally, I'm still 12 mentally. I mean, I say this amongst my friends and family all the time. I'm like, I'm 36. Aside from my body, because I've done bad things to it, I don't feel any different than when I was 12 years old. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
I like the same things since I was 12, which is a good thing. You know what I mean? I'm still like, I remember because, we didn't grow up with a lot of finances and stuff, and we couldn't always buy all the toys that like I wanted to buy. And later on in life, that definitely changed. But I always remember making the promise to myself when I was like 10, 12 years old, like if I ever were to get into a position where I could make finances that allow me to live a little bit more comfortable, that I would buy all the toys that I wanted to have as a 12-year-old. So once I moved to the United States and I got to basically the land of like cool action figures and stuff like that, I started like my Transformers collection all over again. And that's like, I'm pleasing my inner 12-year-old with the fact that I'm buying like all the cool Transformers toys that I always wanted to have, And I think that's a cool thing. That's a good thing.
That's a fantastic. So you said Transformers. What were some of the other ones? I mean, do you still have some of them at your current house? Have you kept them along the way?
Oh, dude, they're all upstairs. Like I've got an entire room of Transformers. Yeah.
Dude, you got to
send you a picture of it.
Yeah, send me a picture. I was just going to ask. Send me a picture, and then one day, hopefully, we could meet in person. I could actually take a look at some of those things. So that's a great story. I love that. Like, come to the land of cool toys.
Yeah.
I thought that was China. I thought that was China where they're all being made. I don't know. I thought.
I can't comment on that, but I know that they're for sale here. That there's a lot of cool stuff. Like the thing is, like I love the United States. I absolutely love this country. I've always been like, especially if you're from Europe, you look at the United States. Well, it's the United States. It's cool. And for as much as on the outside eras it has, I truly think and I truly believe that the United States is a great country. Like I really like there's really friendly people. There's plenty for everyone, and there's amazing opportunities if you're willing to work hard for it. And every country has its flaws. I think the United States as a country, because they've obviously positioned themselves as such a world power, is obviously a country that also will receive the most criticism if things happen to it. But I love being in this country, man. I think the United States is a great country, and I'm not saying that to say it. I truly believe that. Like, I found my wife here. I've had a good career within WB. I made connections. I'm doing this because I made a decision to do WB. You know me because I was a professional wrestler for World Wrestling Entertainment. So again, that's also one of the reasons why I chose not to be mad, is because there's so many cool that came out of it. So. At the end of the day, man, like, are you going to count your blessings, or are you going to look at all the broken mirrors that are left behind? Like, what does it matter? It matters nothing.
No, totally. No, and that's the right attitude to have. And I'm glad you have that attitude, and it's super great to see. It's such a great story that you have, and I want to talk now a little bit more about some other things that are part of your life. I know you got the Blxckmass clothing line. And everyone could go check that out. That's so it's BLXCK mass _clothing on Instagram. Samespelling.com. Everyone could go check out this. And I know that Brandon here, our director, helped with a couple of the early designs. So maybe the two of you can fill me in a little bit of what the inspiration is behind this clothing line.
Which ones did you do?
I think I did the first two that you did through Blackcraft, the collaborations.
The Root of All Evil one?
Yeah, Root of All Evil, and there was another one.
Devil's Blood?
I think the one before Devil's Blood.
I think the one before Devil's Blood was Root of All Evil. No, fuck. You mean the one with the figure in the middle?
The figure, yes. I forget what it's called. Yes.
remember it. Like, yeah. So funny enough, we were literally just talking about the root of all evil and bringing that shirt. I'm gonna put up a light, guys, because it's getting really dark here. 1 second.
I saw that. You're very hands-on with this. Right off the bat, you're very hands-on with this clothing line. So I really appreciate that, because you're like, oh, I know exactly which shirt, and everything like that. So I don't mean to interject there, but just want to say I like that you can see that you're on top of this, and it's not just a money grab kind of thing. No, dude. Yeah. Like it's actually, the funny thing is I employed 3 of my best friends so that they can make money on the side. I don't really take anything from it. Whatever is left, I usually just reinvest back into the company, because why not? It takes money to make money. As cliche as that sound, it is what it is, and it's a formula that has been tried and tested, and it works. I keep telling Brandon that we need to do that with this show, but he keeps taking my money. I don't know. Like, I keep telling Brandon, we got to put the money back into the show. He's like, I am the show, motherfucker. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, funny that you should say that, because he just bought stock in Blackcmass, so I don't know if you want to talk to him about
that.
Whoa.
Hey, man, just saying. I've seen the community he's built in the past year.
Wow.
We were just talking about bringing that Blackcmass, like root of all evil design, back on a tee, because we think it's such a timeless design. I think it's such a cool design. So we were just going like, wait, did Trash Wolf make that, or did the other guy make it? Like that? Hey, and I messaged Bobby and was like, Bobby, and Bobby was like, I think Brandon did it. I'm like, did he? I'm not sure anymore. So telling me this, because that actually helps me, because we want to bring the design back. So, but we didn't have the files. So,
you know who has the files? You know who has the files?
You have the files.
Yeah, they're right over there.
See, not only are we having a chat on a podcast right now, we're getting business done. All right, that you guys can all thank me later.
Business done, man. That's how we do it.
You can all thank me. You can all thank me later.
Look at us be. Blackcmass for me, there's a bunch of things that I liked as a kid. I like skateboarding, I like black metal, I like hardcore, I like metal, and I like tattooing. Well, tattoos, not tattooing, tattoos and the culture behind it. I put all those together, and I just kind of went like, I want to put stuff on this, like on a shirt. And the funny thing is, Bobby from Blackcraft approached me at one point, and it's like, do you want to do a collaboration with us? And I'm like, fuck yeah. I liked Blackcraft when I first came in contact with like the brand. I think it must have been like 2012, 13, where there wasn't really a lot of like alternative clothing on the market. I've been like, you buy band shirts or anything, especially not in Europe. There was a little bit. But he was one of the first one, in my opinion, that really, monopolized that whole thing and kind of like brought out these like occult aesthetic shirts that I thought were really, really cool. And I kind of like started rocking it. And then I guess he noticed at one point. And then obviously I was in WB, and he kind of contacted me, and we started talking. And like, we're 3-4 years later now, and he's one of my closest friends, and he's one of my business partners, and he's a dude that I look up to, and he's a dude that always is there for advice and has helped me a great deal with Blackcraft, and is just a rad all-around good dude that I think all of us really love. He's kind of the glue that kind of like sticks a lot of people together. And he's a one-of-a-kind guy, and I have a lot of love for him. And, when it comes to Blackcmass, he's always on the lookout. He's always asking me, hey, man, what are you guys doing? Hey, man, what's new with the store? And then, like, I'll run some designs by him, and he'll be like, this is money. He'll be very honest with me. And Blackcmass is just fun, man. It's definitely, like, one of the coolest things that I can say that I generally created some, we did a couple shirts, and then all of a sudden I had to create a company. And it was actually during a work class in NXT, because they wanted us to like, this is also one of the reasons why the third party band thing doesn't make any sense to me. They told us in NXT, we did these workshops, we want you guys to set yourselves up for success and use the platform that you currently have in our building to build up a business, so that like after your career is done in WWE, you can progress on it. And that's how I started Blackcmass LLC. as like a company first, and then Blackcraft Clothing as an offshoot, as a clothing brand. So there's a lot of things that I'm still currently working on within the boundaries of like Blackcraft LLC that I'm building my franchises on. And I just always wanted to have a clothing label, but I don't have the, you know, the creative skills that for instance, you, Brandon, that you have. I don't have that. I'm not like, sometimes I wish I would have invested more into like Photoshop or like all these kind of things. I'm not good with that stuff. I can't even draw for shit. So I needed people that knew how to put my, you know, creative thoughts onto like paper or into a presentation. And cool that you were actually the first one to do it, because I remember telling Bobby what I had in mind, and then he came up with that design, and I was like, that's exactly what we think we should do. That's so cool. And, you know, it
and Bobby was like, yes, thank you. I'll take the credit on it.
It's funny because that was my first time designing like a black metal logo. So I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I was like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. But no, it
was cool because it reminded me of like the old school kind of like Venom type, like design, and like almost like Watain a little bit. And it just hit the market that I wanted to hit, and like that shirt did really well. And I kind of wanted to do shirts that were like, for me, almost like a tribute to like the bands that I loved growing up. So initially, you know, we started with a lot of more like black metal-esque designs. So, you know, I think The Devil's Night was a tribute to like Dark Throne. You know, Root of All Evil was a tribute toward like Venom and Watain and stuff like that. And, you know, then like obviously we kind of sprinted also a little bit more towards like hardcore and, you know, metal and stuff. And just like all the kind of things that I liked growing up and still like to this day. And in the span of those 3 years, like I said, it went from making some shirts to a company to now having 3 of my closest friends, Daz, Dante, and Pablo, employed in my company. And it's running. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's doing good. And not like, you know, like thousands and thousands of dollars, but it's an operating company that works, and I'm able to pay my friends a little bit of money, and it just feels good. Yeah. You know? It feels good.
That's awesome.
And I think it works because you put so much pure energy into it. You know, it's authentic. It's not a cash grab. It's truly what you believe in. It's your interest all combined into one, and you've created a community out of it now. I mean, you have a huge Discord server. You have the Twitch following. You've made this into a lifestyle, which is really cool, man. That's really commendable.
Appreciate you saying that. It's I think that, like, you know, I think that people will eventually follow you or not. You know, like that's also why it's like that's why we say it's, you know, for us, not them. If you're not with it, it's just not for you, and that's cool. You know, it doesn't have to be for you, because for the people that get it, they get it, and they'll follow it, and they'll buy it, they'll rep it, and the aesthetics that we create are, like I said, a combination of like mid '90s, end of the '90s skateboarding apparel with band tees meets King Solomon, lesser Keo's King Solomon's demonic kind of stuff with sigils and stuff. And man, we're just having so much fun. And the thing is, like, the issue that we have right now is that we have too many designs, because like Daz will come in like, hey man, what do you think of this? I'm like, dude, that's so killer. And then
he kills it too.
Oh yeah. And then Eric comes in and he's like, hey man, what do you think of this? I'm like, oh bro, that's so dope. And immediately my brain starts spinning, because I would never bring out something that I wouldn't wear myself. And I'll say that with a disclaimer, because, you know, there's 4 dudes in there, and all of us have different tastes in stuff that we like. We brought out this rain jacket, which was the Blackwater jacket with the Masonic sigil, a sign on the symbol on the front. And I wasn't immediately sold on that, but I was also in the sign where I was like, well, you know, I've employed these dudes. I should also let them have a go at it. And the jacket did great. So I'm like, you know, not everything that I necessarily like stand by is something that I would, you know, not put out, because I also have to trust in the creative mind of the people that I've employed, because they're there for a reason. They're not just there to like make sure that like everything is paid and that everything, the website's done and all the orders are fulfilled, and they communicate with Rock World, great company, by the way, Rock World. Shout out to Joe. You know, and they're also three individuals that have their own creative ideas that mesh well with different sections of our fan base and different sections of our following. So why not listen to them, and why not have them cater towards, the stuff that they like a little bit more? But at the end of the day, I rock that black order jacket. I wear it, especially now when there's like a lot more rain in Florida, because for some reason the summer goes hand in hand with like, tornadoes and disaster and all sorts of like 7 biblical plagues, 4 in the afternoon.
That's what you get for living in Florida, man. That's what you get for living in Florida. You came all the way to the States and you stuck to Florida.
Do not disrespect my beautiful state of Florida. I love living here. It's a no. I
love Florida too. Every time I go there, I have such a fucking blast. I absolutely love Florida. I'm not kidding about that part.
It is truly Wild West in the best of ways.
Yes.
It is a crazy, fun, beautiful, insane place. There's so much character in this state. And I tend to look at, especially nowadays, the positives. And yes, Florida has a reputation, but come on, man, it is a blast. Like it is a place that is truly unique, full of unique people, and it's I used to live in Amsterdam, so
which is in the Netherlands, Netherlands, right?
What's that?
You used to live in Amsterdam, which is in the Netherlands. No, that was in Denmark, my man. It was, definitely not the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to put a map
it's so
up.
funny. It's like as if I've never traveled anywhere before too. Like I've never been to those places or anything. Let's get into music though. Let's get into music real quick. I know that this is a huge thing in your life. I know music is a big part of your life. And I heard, like, as we're talking in and out of the release from WWE, I heard there's an unreleased version of Aleister Black theme song that you actually have the rights to.
Want to hear it?
Yeah, I absolutely would love to hear it.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You want to hear it? Okay, one second.
This is a treat.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's fucking wow. Either I'm really predictable or you're a genius. Let's go with both.
All right, so let's do the one that I haven't played yet, which is the actual. So the whole song is like a 2-minute and 50-second song. The entrance edited one is about, I think, 1.5 minutes. Let me put this on. Give me 1 second. Make sure that it works.
That sounds super heavy, though, man.
That's crazy heavy. That's probably the heaviest wrestling theme that WWE's ever had.
Well, they don't have it, Brandon. Correction, they don't have it.
Don't have.
No. So the one that aired on TV is a different version. So there's a story behind this. When I changed the Aleister Black character into a bad guy character, I had a long talk with Vince because I said, like, look, if we're doing this, we got to change everything. If we really want to give this a shot, we got to change this whole thing. And he agreed with me. So one of my favorite bands, and they're my friends too, is a band called Brutality Will Prevail from Wales. Very talented group of guys. Always been in Europe, relatively successful. never really, I don't think I've ever been stateside, and I was trying to set that up as well because I kind of wanted to see if I could, at post-COVID, set something up, get these guys over, and kind of use my context to kind of get them around. And I might still do that depending on how, they feel at this point. But I started talking to them because I use their songs on the independents a lot too. I used their song Heavy Eyes. You might want to check that out. It's a brilliant song. They were kind of a little bit the start of the black and hardcore movement that came around, where they were kind of using black metal riffs through like hardcore riffs, which was really unique, and they had that darker, more occult kind of like aesthetic to them, and the lyrics were a little bit more dark, and it meshed perfectly with the Tommy End character. It meshed perfectly with me, who I was. So I said, hey, I have this opportunity to create a new character, or like at least add a layer to this character, and I want to change the theme song up, but I don't want to just like come back with something that is, similar. I still want it to be an anthem. I don't want it to be a complete departure where the first theme song was like an anthem for like the Aleister Black character. You know what I mean? The Root of All Evil song.
Right.
It was such a statement, and I wanted this to be a statement too. So I paid them for studio time, and I wrote the lyrics with the front man, because I have to have something in each song that is like me. And we called the song No Man's Land because the base premises of the character was going to be, he stands on his own, and this entire wasteland belongs to no one anymore, not even him. So he'll just burn the whole empire down. So, he's been in purgatory so long. So it's either he's going to have complete victory or he's going to drag everyone to hell. That was basically the base premises of the character. So,
can I interrupt you there real quick, Tommy, and just have one quick question on that? Is this your character development, or is this something that was given to you?
No, it was just my character development.
Okay,
this is how I felt the direction of the character should have gone. It didn't, for whatever reason.
Of course, yeah. I just wanted to clarify. I just wanted to clarify that to the listeners real quick.
Of course, understandable. So we recorded the song. I remember sitting with Vince in the office, and I said, "Look, I've got this new song. It's heavy as shit." He's like, "Oh, all right, man. Let me hear it." So I played the song for him, and he's like, Does the volume change, or does the speed? And I was like, yeah, it's coming, it's going faster. So he listens to it, and he's like, wow. He's like, I mean, I don't know what the fuck that was. I don't think that's music. But hey, I'm 76 years old. What the fuck do I know, right? So he basically gave me the okay, but for some reason, like we couldn't like mesh it out with. We have all the rights to the song, but I think that WWE's worries are, and I understand this part because it has happened in the past where they've used outside sources, and then all of a sudden, even when everything contractual is done, someone goes, yeah, but I want royalties, or I want this, I want to have credit, and then it causes lawsuits, it causes issues. So WWE does everything in house, which I understand. That's no biggie. It was just a bummer. And then they hired the frontman for Brutality Will Prevail to write their version of No Man's Land. And the idea was that after like 3 to 6 months, the guys would be paid for studio time again and cover the WWE version of that song in their own way, so that we still had Brutality Will Prevail singing No Man's Land, just in a slightly different way, but completely their way of doing it. So, and obviously we never got to that part, which is a shame, because even that character didn't make it longer than 4 weeks before, actually 2 weeks, and then they started changing the direction up completely. We never got to see any of that to fruition, but this is the song that I'm definitely going to use out there.
Out where?
Nice.
Out on the independents that I'm going to be dwelling on for a while.
Okay, cool. Is that's
other place?
Yeah, I know you're not going to divulge it now. I'm not asking that. I know how that goes, but you just mentioned so I think that's okay to ask about. Are you in the interim while you're still making your decisions and everything like that? Are you're going to continue to work in some of the independent scenes and stuff?
I'm definitely like weighing off some options, because there's some really good option, and everything has pros and cons. And like I said, for the first time in a very long time, I can do things my way. It's a really good feeling, like I said, knowing that so many people, want to work with you, because again, it's a testimony of all the hard work that you've put into. And I like I said, I'm definitely like weighing out my options, which is it's just a great feeling, man. It's just one of those Wow, I never thought I was going to get to this point. You know what I mean?
Wherever you end up, you're going to be a huge asset, man. I want to say, I don't think a lot of people know this, that you actually had a little bit of a hand in putting together the first Blackcraft Wrestling pay-per-view as far as the card and overlooking it and giving it a lot of guidance to making what happened happen.
This is the belt right here.
Thing is,
I'm holding the title. Everyone can see that.
But none of it was you, which I thought was funny. So I gave. No, that's not entirely true. So I pitched a bunch of wrestlers that I think would be good because they were fresh faces and people hadn't seen them, and I knew they were great. One of them was Chris Chambers, who was my buddy from Canada, who I think is a phenomenal wrestler. He's a great guy as well, and good body, really good mindset. Like wrestles a little bit like a young Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I saw a couple matches with you.
He was a good asset.
I saw a match with you. I watched an old match with you and him last night, and it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, he has a funny company, man. His company's great. Super Kick, it's awesome.
Super Kick, that's what it was. Yeah, Super Kick, it was awesome.
Yep, definitely is. So I helped Bobby out, and I put this whole card together, structure together, and I think, I don't know what happened, but I think maybe 15% of it was used, and I think there was a lot of people involved in that scenario where I think you guys, as starting out a wrestling promotion or wanting to do something within the realms of professional wrestling, were overwhelmed with a lot of people trying to chime in, and a lot of people trying to help and assist. And wrestling is not one straight road. You can do it in many different ways, and I hope that you guys eventually pick up the thread to kind of continue Blackcraft Wrestling, because I think there's something there. I definitely think there's something there. We just gotta and if it comes time to that, I hereby put forward myself into helping you restructure everything and making sure that perhaps on a different note, we can rearrange something and make it happen in a new way, in a different way, in a way that is progressive towards what I think Blackcraft Wrestling can and should be.
That's a hell of a thing right there, Brandon. You got to take him up on this.
Oh yeah, I'm not the man to talk to. You know the guy to talk to.
I'll be seeing Bobby in 2 days. I'll talk to Bobby Shabinsky. I'll be seeing him on Thursday.
Let's corner him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do love though back to the music and wrestling. I mean that correlation between your life and those two things coming together is very very relevant, or that's not the right word I'm looking for, but very obvious in your life and your persona and everything. I guess I know that you are big into metal and hardcore and stuff. But what were like as a child when you're listening to music for the first time and you're gravitating on your own, not what your parents are playing or anything like that. What is that first album, that first act, that first artist that you really gravitated towards?
Fear Factory, Demanufacture. That was the first album I ever bought. I loved the song Replica because it was on TV for some reason. Well, actually, no, I was 11, 12 years old. That's about the time it came out, I guess. So I got obsessed with that song. So I wanted to have the album. I already, like my brother, despite, you're not saying you gravitate to, but my brother was, had a mixtape of Iron Maiden and Metallica. So that, that's what he was playing. So that's what I listened to. My brother was also a big fan of U2. My father was a big guitar person in terms of music. So there was always guitar music around our house. So, because of that, because of those influences, I myself gravitated towards a little bit more of the heavier side of music, to the dismay of my parents. But Fear Factory Demanufacture was the first ever album that I ever bought, and I still think that the first track of that album, which is called Demanufacture, is one of the heaviest, sickest tracks that's ever been made. It's such, and the funny thing is, I'm actually pretty cool with the Fear Factory crew nowadays, because some of the members are in Power Flow, and the offshoot band that they're doing with Sendog, Cypress and stuff, and the other one, funny enough, was Biohazard, and obviously Billy is now into the other band as well, into Power Flow. And then the third band was Immortal, Damned in Black. That was one of the albums that I bought too. So I had all these influences on an early age of like all these like three streams of music that were on their own already kind of progressive, because they weren't like first gen or second gen like metal or black metal or hardcore. They were like second, third generation kind of like bands. So they were already kind of like etching out, like Fear Factory having a little bit more of that industrial metal sound. Biohazard was more of the urban Suicidal Tendencies type, like hardcore. And Immortal was like a second generation black metal, like, coming in with like, I think a little bit behind or like at the same time as like Mayhem and stuff. And, so it allowed me to have a wider appreciation for different types of musics within those respected genres. And for me as a kid growing up, I as long as it was alternative, it was good. It went from typo negative to even I thought Linkin Park had like that first album I thought was killer. The second album, Meteor, was killer. Like I was 11 when I heard Korn's Blind for the first time, and that blew my mind. $3 Bill Y'all by Limp Bizkit, that like it was awesome. Black Album, Justice for All, Killers by Iron Maiden, and that it kind of grew and grew and grew. Early with Filth, Demon Borgir, it just went and went. Overkill. I got really into thrash metal. I think thrash metal is still one of my absolute favorite genres of music. I just think it's great, man. I love music. Music is. I have.
Did you ever play?
A tattoo of Gerald on my hand because I love jazz music too.
Yeah, dude. Love jazz music. What were some of your jazz heroes?
Honestly, like I gravitated so much to Ella because especially when at age 15, 16, because I was so so twitchy and anxious that like only like listening to Ella and Louis Armstrong was one of the things that I really, really, really loved. There's an album that I have of Ella Fitzgerald, and I can't for the life of me find it. And I think it's still back in the melons, where Ella does all these duets with all these like jazz trios and blues trios from like back in the day. And there was one song on that, and for the life of me, and it irks me that I can't come up with it, because it's one of those songs that I always went to when I was a kid, and even when I typed in the lyrics somewhere, like I couldn't find it anymore. But a lot of those bands like Lou Reed and stuff afterwards as well, like they were just like, it was just music that kind of like spoke to me and calmed me down, and where I felt that metal and alternative music would push me into a creative stream and allowing me to kind of live what I had in here to kind of like let that come out. It was jazz that kind of like, especially Ella, that kind of like suited it for me. Kind of like made me okay with living with those anxiety feelings.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm a huge jazz fan as well. I got a lot of records. I might actually have that Ella Fitzgerald one over here. I'm gonna have to check after we get off of this. If I do, I'm gonna send it to you. But yeah, so that was all. You already answered my next question. Is like, well, it seems like you're predominantly into metal. What are some of the other genres? And you got jazz there. Are you into any pop or hip hop or country, or are you kind of all genres? Just what you like from all different genres, or Yeah, I got really big into like underground hip hop when I was skateboarding a lot. Like, one of the first things that I listened to was like Gangstar, especially like Guru and stuff, Jedi Mind Tricks, Nonfiction, Talib Kweli, Mos Def, Afra, Wu-Tang Clan. So there was a lot of like one of my absolute favorite was the Far and Cannibal Ox. I loved Cannibal Ox. He was great. They were great, and there was something about like hip hop that I could vibe with very well, especially in that skateboard culture. But, I'm a big fan of like Alborosi as well. I don't know if you're very into like reggae and stuff. I'm just starting to get into reggae actually now. I mean, I've heard stuff, obviously the popular stuff I've heard, and I like a lot of it, but I haven't really ingratiated myself into it yet. So I'll check that out.
Try Alborosi. That's a dude that like, and his music he transcends that, just that he does so many different things. Listen to the song Kingston Town. That song is like It's almost like gangster reggae. It's so cool. It's like it's really it's such a cool message as well. But even stuff like NWA, I remember like at one point when I was like 17, 18, I bought the NWA Legacy Volume 2. And, I liked West Side Connection with like Ice Cube. Man, there is not really a lot of music that I'm not into, especially coming from the Netherlands where like, predominantly there's a lot of dance music that comes out of it. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily hate electronic music neither. Like I feel that there's something in every genre as long as you allow it, to exist with you, that you can find that's cool, that can, you learn how to vibe with. Pop music is not something that I got into very, 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 very often. No idea why it didn't really mesh with me. But I spoke to someone about this recently on the podcast as well. My wife is very much into my wife is from Queens, New York, like Queens. So she grew up, in lower class areas predominantly. So, she listens to artists that kind of came up similar to in those areas. So I mean, for instance, she loves Nicki Minaj, and it's not someone that I really heavily got into other than knowing her hits. But then the other week we were watching this documentary because she was doing some character work. So she wanted to understand a little bit more about Nicki. And even though she's already seen this documentary 500 times, she'll sit there and study it for the 501 time just so she can pick up more details. And I started watching it too because I like learning about the people behind the music. I think that's I think documentaries are some of the most interesting things you can watch. What makes a person tick, where do they come from. And I learned a lot of things about Nicki Minaj that I didn't know. And it definitely exponentially made my appreciation and respect for her so much more. And not that she needs my appreciation or respect or anything, don't get me wrong, Nicki will be fine without it. But it was just something that was very cool to see that, even certain things that she said that I felt I have that too, I feel that pressure too. And we deal with those things too. And we deal with the same type of criticism or unprofound remarks. And it's the same mentality of not letting anything stop you and doing it your way, but having to fight real hard to do it your way. And then sometimes you don't win, no matter how much effort you put into it, no matter how many times you talk to producers or record labels or whatever, you're not always going to get your way. And that's a very frustrating thing to deal with. And I was like, man, I have that too. It was very eye opening. It was very cool to see.
Yeah, it's a very similar, from talking to a lot of guys like yourself over the past few years and everything, wrestling, and hearing you speak about it before on other interviews. I saw this kinship between it too. You're describing your transition away from WWE right now, and you're talking about the hierarchy, the political hierarchy that happens where, you need that guy that's your right-hand man that is also the right-hand man of the guy in charge, right? For us in the music industry at a record label, he's called the A&R agent. You need that A&R agent to be your guy that is at every meeting, every time they go to a meeting with all the big guys, he's in that room pushing you to the front every time. And I think that in music we do that, and I think from what I've heard from you, it's been that way in the WWE as well for you guys. You need that, obviously there's a bunch of guys in the room at every meeting and they're all the head ups, and you need a connection to that one head up that's going to keep pushing you into the forefront of the guy making decisions. So I think that's kind of, at least in the political and business side of it, there's at least that we bring a lot of a commonality to music and wrestling.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. Very much agreed.
You are friends with Andy Williams of Every Time I Die, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, correct.
Who's now Butcher over at AEW. You were just recently on Renee Packett's oral sessions. There's do you know Chris Jericho? Because both of you guys were on the Ghost promo a few years ago for Dance Macabre.
So, yes, I've met Chris very briefly when he was about to exit WWE, and I think we had one or two brief conversations. I've always liked Chris. Chris is definitely one of the guys that I look up to in wrestling. I think for a guy his age to being able to reinvent himself as much as he has done, and the amount of talent that Chris possesses from his time in and to WCW and his WWE career. I think Chris is one of the all-time greats. He is one of the people that I secretly hope that before he decides to hang up his boots, I hope I get to work him, because I think his mind in wrestling is such a valuable treasure, and to be able to pick his brain and learn from him and competing against him, it's one of the things that is on my bucket list, high up my bucket list.
Well, there's one way. There is one way to guarantee that. I mean, it would be New Japan, and then there's another one that could possibly, I don't know if it's on your radar, or if you I don't know how to do it with a straight face.
Both of those and all the others remain to be seen. I'd say stay tuned, and maybe in the next couple months you'll find out.
All right, man. Well, I guess we've pretty much covered it all today. Thank you so much for your time, Tommy. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope we can stay in touch and do this in person sometime down the line. Everyone go follow Tommy End at Tommy End, and go to blackmass.com. All those things, we're going to put it all right up here for you guys to check out. Again, thank you guys so much for being here with us, and I guess that's it. You got anything else?
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks to everybody. We'll see you next time. Cheers.